company. He came in and did boot camps, and the agents at that time that listened to what he had to say were very successful. And, prior to COVID, we had even talked about having some opportunities to bring Mark here. And then, of course, we all know what happened during COVID. And, but anyhow, we are so honored and pleased to have Mark here with us. Mark is an internationally recognized speaker, an author and trainer in the real estate industry. And I know recently, Mark, we had a training program, and I had one of the books you were in with several other people that talked about the real estate business and being successful. And we had that as a giveaway to one of our attendees. And so we appreciate all that you've brought to the table. Mark has over 30 years in the real estate training and speaking. He's the CEO of Leaders Elite. He's presented keynote addresses for conferences, sales rallies, awards events, and I was even honored to have him at my installation in 2016 at the winter business meetings at Florida Realtors. And he was also not only at our installation, but he was our keynote speaker for our training program. When I talk about someone like Mark, who is extremely witty, sincere, and he has such an empowering amount of wisdom that I think you're going to, Mark, I apologize. Mark said, don't give them too much where they've, I can't live up to it. Well, Mark lives up to everything. So he's married. He has a beautiful wife, Denise, has two handsome sons. He resides in Canada. And if ever, I don't know, Clark, if you can unmute, but I would love him to be able to feel some love if we could unmute and give him a warm Legends welcome. Mark, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
I don't know if you could hear it.
Well, good morning, and Audrey, thank you for those kind words. Am I supposed to press something, Clark, to?
You should be good to go. You should be able to share your screen if you'd like.
I just wanted to share myself first.
Oh, you're on.
Okay, because I'm looking at you, but that's good.
Oh, you don't want to. You can change the view up in the upper right-hand corner. There should be a view where you can see speaker or gallery.
Yeah, I got speaker's view. That's okay. Huh. It's all right. Well, good morning, everyone. And Audrey, thank you for those kind words. And I think before I get started, I want to thank some people to begin with. First of all, there's 3 or 4 people that I would really like to do a shout out. First of all, Clark, I want to thank you for the time you spent with me this week on the phone. I want to thank you for being a good friend and a good supporter of what I teach. And when Audrey had told me that you had joined the Legends of Real Estate, I thought that she just couldn't have picked someone better to be with her. Liz McMohan, it's so nice to have you here. And Missy Howell, I first met Missy. She was kind enough to meet me at the airport when I flew down for the Women's Council of Realtors. And I could tell absolutely immediately the quality of character that Missy is. And I was very proud for her, but it didn't surprise me that she would be the Madam President for the I think it's Southeast Florida Association of Realtors. And I want to say hi to Rick Beeson. Rick, it's been a while since I've seen you. But again, what a great group of management people. And from me to everybody on the call or on the Zoom meeting, if you could just take a second and say thank you to them in one way or another, or maybe it's just putting something on the chat saying thanks to the management team for making this happen. And I want to thank all of you for being here with me today. It truly is an honor. It truly is an honor. You know, when I had first heard about the legends of real estate, I knew that it wouldn't take long that the real estate industry in the Jacksonville area was going to be shook up. I knew that Legends would very, very quickly be on a fast track of success. And in talking to Clark and hearing about the numbers, from what I understand, Legends of Real Estate is the fastest growing real estate company in the Jacksonville, Florida area. So I my first intention is or impression would be to thank the management team. But the truth is, I think the management team would want me to thank each and every one of the sales associates. There is no question that a company is only as strong as the salespeople. And for each and every one of you here, I want to thank you for giving me an hour or two of your life. That's something you're never going to get back. And I'm going to do everything I can to try to get the most out of that for your time spent. Like every presentation that I've always done, I always try to come into the presentation with an objective. You know, what is the objective that we're trying to accomplish here? And part of the objective, of course, is I always do my homework and find out what the average sale price is and what the average commission is. And then when you get past the averages of what salespeople would like to charge, and then get under the, say, the fingernails of what's really happening out there. And like every other place in the industry, there's all kinds of pressure that's on the salespeople today. And I don't want no pressure in our meeting today. In fact, let me share with you what my 3 objectives are for the time that I have to spend with you today. My first objective is that I want us to have a little bit of fun. I learned early on in this career that too many of us take it way, way too serious. And I'd like us to have a little bit of fun. And I have to tell you something. About 5 years ago, I had made a decision. I had actually made the decision prior to coming down and doing the event for Audrey and the Women's Council of Realtors. But I had 3 things that I had to accomplish before this decision had to be made. Out of all of the major franchises and the top 100 real estate companies in North America, there was only 2 companies in 23 years and over 2,300 engagements that I had never done work for. The first one was Long & Foster, and anyone who's been in the industry any length of time will know that they were the 500-pound gorilla up in the Washington DC area. And my last year that I was on the road actively as a speaker and trainer, I was hired by Mr. Foster himself personally. And he had me come in and train all of his management team through a 5-day management program I put together at that time. And then it wasn't long after that I got a call from the second company that I had never done work for. And that was the Weichert Real Estate Organization. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. Mr. Weichert stood up on stage. He asked me to be his keynote speaker for his national convention. And he said that, and it was actually kind of funny because he said, I have to tell you something. I don't know if this guy is going to be a good speaker today. But I can tell you, word for word, he's one hell of a prospector. This is the only person that for 22 and a half years called my office every 90 days trying to book an appointment with me. And I'm not sure if it was every 90 days, but it was certainly close to that. And that was my second greatest honor. But my greatest honor of all time was when Missy, um, 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 uh, Madam President, picked me up at the airport and brought me to the hotel in Orlando. And the following morning, I got to speak to, I think there's about 800 or 900 of the greatest women realtors that I had ever met in the state of Florida. And it was a crowning moment for me because I was so proud of seeing Audrey and taking on that role with everything else. You know, Audrey reminds me of Martha Stewart on steroids. If you want something done, call Audrey. So, so it's really been quite an experience. But through all of that, through all of the ups and downs, I've learned early on that we really have to take all of the seriousness of whether we're out listing and selling, or whether I'm here with you trying to share a message with you. We got to have some fun. And I don't know if you've ever heard, but what the three greatest fears of mankind is. They say the first one is public speaking, and I guess in the world of COVID, this is as close as I've gotten in the last year or two. But the first one is public speaking. The second one is death. And the third one is dying while you're up here public speaking, or while I'm sitting here public speaking. So let's hope the third one doesn't happen. But what I'd like you to do is pick up a pen and hit a piece of paper in front of you, and we're going to turn this into a real estate seminar, which brings me to my second objective. And my second objective of today's presentation is that I truly want to challenge you. And I want to challenge you to take advantage of an opportunity where, in my 35 years of being in the real estate business, I've seen come along maybe 2 or 3 times, where you have a market that is so hot that it's almost dangerously hot. You know, in different markets around North America, we're seeing price increases anywhere from 1% a month to 2, 3, 4% a month in some marketplaces. I was talking to a group of realtors that participate in my Leaders in Real Estate community on Facebook, and I invite you all to join that if you have a minute. And each month I do a presentation for them. And what I found interesting is that in some of the marketplaces, the prices have gone up so fast. They've gone up so fast that literally, if they were asked to do a CMA in 30 days, you should be talking to the homeowner the day before the 30 days before you go over and see them, because the prices are fluctuating so quickly. And the last market that I can remember that was like this, you could go back to 2006, 2007, maybe during the ninja mortgage time, no income, no jobs, no assets, where you could have been a head of lettuce and made 100 grand a year selling real estate. Or 1988, 89 would have been another time in my career. But the reason I tell you this is that in 35 years, not many markets like this come along. And I want to challenge you to take advantage of this market, because like everything else in real estate, it's not going to be here forever. And this is the type of market that's going to change careers. If this is the type of market that is going to change families' lifestyles in the future. This is the type of market where realtors can tuck away $1 or make an investment for their future. This is the type of market that I'm deadly serious when I say this to you, that you have to grab a hold of and make the most out of it possible. The question then becomes, why is it that no matter how hot the market is, we still seem to live by this 80-20 rule, that there's 20% of the people do 80% of the business and 80% of the people do 20% of the business? Why does that rule still persist in any marketplace at any time, whether the market's hot or the market's not? You know, when I owned my real estate franchise, I had a Century 21 franchise for 10 years. I bought it at the age of 20 and sold it at the age of 30. And that's probably another reason why I have so much respect for Audrey, because I've truly walked where she walked as a broker owner. And I've also walked where you walk as a salesperson. And it used to drive me crazy that you could see people that there was such an opportunity in front of them and they wouldn't take advantage of it. They would not take advantage of it. So today I want to challenge you to take advantage of the opportunity that you've got in front of you. Now, the question is then, how are we going to take advantage of that opportunity? How are we going to make the most out of it? Well, that brings me to my third objective, gang. And my third objective here today is I want you to allow me to join forces with you to help you accomplish your goals. You know, there's a couple of things that come with age. And I will tell you, Audrey was right. I'm 30 plus years in the real estate business, actually 35 this year. I'm almost embarrassed to say it. And you reach a point in your career that, like anything else, when you have a passion for something, and I have to tell you something, next to my wife, who I'm passionate about, and my two children and my family I'm passionate about, I don't think there's anything else in my life that I have more passion about than real estate. I'm passionate about selling it, but I'm even more passionate about helping others achieve success by it. And my third objective is I want to take that knowledge that I've gathered over the last 35 years, and I feel like I'm at a stage of my career that if I don't give back, if I don't share with the real estate community the different lessons that I've learned, if I can say it that way, the different tips, the different techniques, the make sure we don't do the same mistakes that others do, and what do we have to do to be successful? If I don't share that with others, whether you grab a hold of it or not, that's up to you. But all I can do is handle what I do, and if I don't take the time to share that with others, then what's the career all about? What is success all about? What is, if our true passion is about helping others, whether it be helping someone achieve a maximum sale price for their house or buy their first home, it's all about helping. And that's what my third objective here is today, gang, is that I want to join forces with you to help you take advantage of the market that's in front of you and help you become as successful as you possibly can. So with that, why don't we turn it into a real estate seminar and let's get into sharing some stuff with you. So Clark, I'm going to pull up my presentation now, and I may need a little help with this here. Slideshow from the beginning. Can you still hear me, Clark?
We can still hear you. I can't see your
You
presentation.
can't see me.
Hopefully, I can see you and I can hear you.
You can see me and hear me?
Yeah, but I can't see your slides.
You can't see my slides. Okay. So then I have to hit something, right? Share my screen.
Yes.
Share my
Share
screen.
Screen option. It should be a
right there, right there.
Yes,
And
sir.
start from the beginning.
Perfect.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, excellent.
Thank-
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's get started then. And before we get into anything, gang, I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about our most common challenges that we face. You know, I think before we can talk about what do we have to do to be successful, maybe what we need to first do is have an awareness of what might be holding us back. You know, for example, there's 5 common challenges that salespeople get hit with on a regular basis. And the first one is they get their expectations mixed up. You know, when we first get into this real estate business, and it doesn't matter which company you may have started with, the manager's going to tell you how successful you're going to be and all the tools we've got and all of that great stuff. And there is no question, all of it's there for you. But what happens is that we see all of these salespeople that are being successful. And, I used to always tell people that the great make it, or the good make it look possible, the great make it look easy. And what happens is that we get up every day with high expectations. Oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to walk in, I'm going to get that listing today, and I'm going to deal with, and I'm going to close this and do that. But the truth of the matter is, if you truly want to be successful in the real estate business, you got to keep your expectations low, gang, but your dreams high. And that way there, you're never going to be disappointed. The second most common mistake we make in the real estate industry is poor time management. Poor time management. Now, what I need you to do when we're thinking about time management is that many of us got into the real estate industry because we want to be in control of our time. And when we want to be in control of our time and make our own hours, in theory, that sounds great. But the truth of the matter is, if it was that easy that we were just going to go get a real estate license and control our own time, probably about 90% of the people that end up dropping out of the real estate business never would have dropped out of the real estate business if they only managed their time more effectively. So something I learned very, very young, or something I learned many, many years ago is probably a better way of saying it, is that what you need to do as salespeople is you need to separate yourself in your mind that you work for a company called Me Inc., or whatever company you may call it. You are the CEO, the president, and the chief bottle washer of that company. And I can remember salespeople saying to me, Mark, why don't you take a minute from the desk and let's go out and have an early lunch, or Mark, let's do this or let's do that. And this little message always came back to my head that, Mark, it's very easy to say I will do this after versus I need to get it done now. And you have to remember, in the sales business, especially in the real estate business, there's a big portion of the people in the real estate business that they never really got into the real estate business to make a whole bunch of money. They got into the real estate business. Can you still hear me? See me?
We can see you, hear you, and your slides.
Is that right? Because I am blank here. Huh. Oh, Marco. How's that? Good, Clark?
Still works. Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you. Something popped up on my computer. I just learned something that I guess I got to shut everything else down. So I apologize for that. So what I'm saying to you is that there's like this little message in the back of your head. You got to say, no. It's not my lunch hour. My lunch hour is between 12 and 1. Or if I'm going to take a break, it's 10:30 to 10:45 or 2:15 to 2:30. You see, you need to manage your time effectively, and you need to set an hourly wage on yourself. And as the owner of Me Inc., you also have to then make sure that you provide the services to your company for what you expect your company should be paying you. I hope that makes sense to you. In other words, run yourself as an employee of your company versus the CEO and president. The third most common challenge, and I learned this over the last 2 or 3 years, probably more than any other lesson that I've learned, is not embracing technology for what it can truly do for us. When I was talking to Audrey a couple of months ago, probably I've talked to her several times. At some point in one of these conversations, I told her a quick story about after I took a couple of years off of the training business. After 23 years, 2,300 speaking engagements, I literally sent out a message. I put it on Facebook and I said, it's been a blast, but I'm turning down the lights, setting down the microphone. I'm taking some time for myself. And after I was out of the business for 2 years, I just spent a lot of time with my my dad, God bless his soul, and my kids, and reconnected with my wife. Denise came to me and she said to me, you know, Mark, it's time for you to get back out into the world. I want you to go sit at your desk. I want you to pick up the phone. I want you to start calling some of your past clients. I want you to get some engagements booked. And I said to her, no, sweetie. I said, I'm not going to do that. And she said, what are you going to do? She said, don't get me wrong, but you're 52 years old. We don't have the savings or the investments for you not to do nothing. We're not ready to retire. And she said, honestly, babe, it's not good for you. You never were a golfer, fisherman, skier 7 days a week. I can see it in your face. You need to get back doing what you love to do. And I said to her, I've given that a lot of thought. And I said to her, this is what I'm going to do. And she said, what? And I said, I'm going to reinstate my real estate license. And she almost fell off the chair. And she says, sweetie, why would you do that? You love helping others become successful in real estate. I said to her, because one of the things that drives me crazy is you've got these speakers and trainers, and I see them all the time at national conventions and coaches, and they never sold a house in their life, but they're going to teach people how to be successful in real estate. And I said to Denise, I said, I can't do that. I said, I can promise you there's better speakers in the industry. I can promise you there's better trainers in the industry. But I said, what I can promise you is this, is I don't know anyone else at the age of 25 that was inducted into the Century 21 Worldwide Hall of Fame, the youngest person ever. I don't know anyone between the ages of 20 and 30 that closed 93 transactions a year on average, and my best year was 153 closings. And Denise says, well, that's why you need to get out and teach that. And I said, no, honey, that's why I can't. And she stopped and said, why? I said, because babe, that was 23 years ago now. I'm going to be one of those people that haven't sold for 2 decades, but I'm going to teach them how to do it. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back into the trenches, just like they're in the trenches. And I'm going to use today's technologies in a community that I've never sold for before. And I'm going to prove to myself that what Mark Leader teaches, and then I'll be able to prove to the industry when it's time. And the universe will tell me when it is time. The universe will reach out to me and say, Mark, it's time that you share this information. Now, how do I know? Audrey called me. I never sent out any marketing pieces or any of that stuff. And then since Audrey talked to me, I've had 3 other companies call. So the universe and things happen for a reason, but I'm never going to be one of those teachers, trainers, speakers that couldn't do it. So I'm going to teach it. And what I did, gang, is I went back in and I got my real estate license in a town that I'd never done any business in before. No one knew me as a realtor. And within 14 months, I got a letter from RE/MAX International wanting to put me into the RE/MAX Hall of Fame. That means I closed in excess of $1 million in gross closed commissions in 12 months. Now, I'm not doing that to do this, to give Mark a pat on the back. That's not why I'm telling you this, gang. But the reason I'm telling you this is because if I can do it, anyone can do it. But the key to that success is I threw a lot of the stuff out that I thought I knew, and I grabbed a hold of today's technology and I made it work. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. The fourth most common challenge salespeople face is they undervalue training. They undervalue training. And you know, I used to say to people when I would do these events, I did an event many years ago down in Florida. It must have been 800, 900, 1,000 people in the room. And I think 300 signed up for the Leaders Choice Program. And I can remember talking to the president at the time. And he looked at me, he says, Mark, isn't this great? We've got 300 people today that signed up to take your Leaders Choice training. I said, you know what? I said, I'm not worried about those 300. I'm worried about the 700 who didn't. And he said to me, what do you mean? I said, well, those 700, they're on their way out of the industry. They're out of their way out of the industry. And he says, why would you say that? I said, because they're undervalued training. You see, in real estate, even when you think you know, you don't. It's an ever evolving industry, and you have to constantly be sharpening your axe. And that's what I said to my wife, Denise, why I went back and listed and sold real estate and still actively doing some lists. Well, I do listings, not sales, to be honest with you. I refer out my buyers, but it's because it was time for Mark Leader to sharpen his axe so that I could have the credibility and earn the right to be here today. And then the fifth most common challenge is they don't have inventory. You know, if you've never heard this expression before, you should write it down now. And you should take it to Staples, you should have it laminated, you should put it on your, right on your cork board beside your desk. And it goes like this: old realtors never die, they just become listless. You know, the number one reason why salespeople fail in this industry is they never learned how to go out and build inventory. We are in the inventory business. Make no mistake about it. If you can call yourself realtors, but the truth of the matter is, the best of the best know that they don't sell houses, gang. They list properties for sale. Selling is like a byproduct to having a real estate license. We list properties for sale. You want to have a higher return for time invested? Bring in more listings. You want to have more time off to spend with family and friends? Get more listings. You want to be in control of your personal life? Get more listings. You want to be in control of your cash flow and have peace of mind and security that you know next month's bills and next month's bills and the month after that your bills are paid? Get more listings. 50% of your work week should be dedicated towards getting listings, 25% servicing those listings, and 25% of the time would be doing everything else. So if those are the most 5 common challenges, then what do we do to overcome these challenges? What do we do to take advantage of the market that's out there and go out and literally not only change our lives, but you're going to change your family's lives. And if you make some investments along the way, you may even change next generation's life. Well, I've got 8 things at this point then to share with you, gang. The first one is, in order to be successful in the real estate industry, you have to believe. You have to believe. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the industry, and you have to believe in your company. Now, let's go back through those 3. Believing in your company, please don't misunderstand me when I say this, but you would have to be crazy if you do not believe in Clark, if you do not believe in Rick, if you do not believe in Liz, if you do not believe in Audrey. These are some of the most successful, honest, well-respected people that the real estate industry has ever seen. And the legends of real estate, almost in a blink of an eye, has become the fastest growing real estate entity in the Jacksonville area. And I know companies that are still larger, but they're all watching what Audrey and Clark and Liz and Rick are doing because they know Legends is on the rise. So we believe in our company, you'd have to. Now, believe in our industry? Well, gang, organized real estate's been around for over 100 years. Anything that's been around that long, there must be value to it and there must be a success to it. So organized real estate's already proven itself. Legends has already proven itself. The last part of the confidence is you. You have to believe in you. Remember that old poem goes like this: I bargained for life for a penny and life would pay me no more. As I sat in the evening and I counted my scanty store. For life, you see, is just an employer. He'll pay you just what you ask. But once you set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial hire only to learn dismay that any wage I would have asked of a life would have willingly paid. See, gang, you got to go for it. You got to go for it. And you know, being in Canada, I can tell you that one of the things I'm going to start talking to Audrey about, and Clark or whoever may want to look after me in the months ahead, we are getting real close to picking up stakes and moving down south. We're getting real close to that, because the further our country goes in the direction of socialism, the more and more I see people not performing out there because they don't have to. But you live in the greatest nation in the world, gang, the United States of America. It's the only country where women will go through what I have been told is the most painful experience of their life, called childbirth. And they'll put their heart and soul and their effort, their blood, sweat, and tears, have calluses on their hands to raise a beautiful child to an adult's age, only to see them march off to protect people that will never ever say thank you. What other nation would do that? What other nation, when other countries in the world are looking for help, who do they turn to first? Always the United States of America. So you got to have that confidence in yourself, and you got to bring that confidence to the table every day, because, gang, you don't get better than you, and you have to start believing in you. Once you instill the confidence in yourself, the next thing is, in order to be successful, is you got to create purpose in your life and in your career. Because the one thing I can tell you, over the last 2 or 3 years, when I took that time off, instead of getting up at 6, I started getting up at 7. Instead of 7, it was 8, it was 9, because I had no purpose. And I will tell you that during those 2 years, I did make a final decision. And Audrey, you were very kind yesterday when you went to the Leaders in Real Estate Facebook page, and you said, Mark, it's nice to have you back out into the field doing training again. That was very kind of you. But I will tell you, to a certain degree, it's self-fulfilling, or it's more about me almost, because I had started to lose purpose. There has to be a reason to get up. And the one thing I decided is I'm never retiring. Never, ever, 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 ever retiring. If that means someday Audrey will hire me, I'm going to be 87 years old and having a wheelchair coming in and saying, we got to whip these people to get more listings, Audrey. I know they can do it. If I can catch them, they're going to do it. They're going to do it because I know they can. But anyhow, we've got to create purpose. So how do we create purpose? Well, purpose all starts with a goal. It all starts with a goal. And if you remember the acronym SMART, I actually created that about 20 some odd years ago now, and it's used by a lot of different trainers out there. But the SMART goals, if you know the SMART, it'll give you everything you need to set up a goal. For example, the S is your goal's got to be specific. The M has to be measurable. And the only thing you can measure success in the real estate industry is how many listings did you bring in this month. Don't worry about your GCI. Don't worry about how many buyers you got. Just focus on bringing in that inventory. That's how you measure success. The more listings you bring in, the rest will look after themselves. Believe me on that. The more listings you bring in, the more closings you're going to have. The A then stands for attainable. Your goal has to be attainable, has to be a stretch, but not an impossibility. If you haven't brought in a listing in the last 12 months, don't say I'm going to start bringing 2 listings in a week, because if you don't hit your goals, then you won't believe in your goals. The R stands for you got to reward yourself with something, gang. When you hit that goal, reward yourself. It could be just a little thing, just a little wee thing. It could be a new pair of jeans or a new outfit. Could be you take your significant other away to the beach for the weekend, and whatever it may be, but you got to reward yourself. And then the T stands for you must track your activities every day. Every moment of every day, you must track your activities. Why? Because you work for a company called Me Inc. And that company is entitled to know what they are paying you to do for your 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day. Plus, it adds personal accountability to you. There's nothing worse when you look at your sheet that you've tracked yourself for the week, and you look and you say, okay, what did I do? And you look, holy cow, is that all I accomplished in the last 7 days? I could have accomplished that in about 3 hours. Where'd all the other time go? Because remember, gang, there's only one thing that every human being takes advantage of in life until they don't have it anymore, and that is time. That is time. And always remember, we are trading time for money. Every time you go to work, you are trading time that you could spend with your loved ones. You could spend hugging trees. You could spend going to the gym. You're trading your casual life for money. And that time you're never going to get back. So if we're going to go to work, let's make the most amount of money in the least amount of time, and let's get out and enjoy ourselves. Once you set your goals, then you got to make a commitment. And a commitment with a condition is an oxymoron. There is no such thing as a commitment with a condition. It's like happily married. That's an oxymoron, okay? Civil servants, oxymoron. You can't, commitment with a condition is an oxymoron. And if you took a look in the dictionary under commitment, it's going to say three things. It's going to say entrust, perform, commitment, entrust, perform. Oh boy, what's the third one? Anyhow, it doesn't matter. The most important one is the entrust. And or maybe a commitment, make a statement, entrust, perform, or make a pledge. Oh, pledge, entrust, perform. That's what it was. And what pledge are you going to make? Well, you're going to pledge to hit your goals, gang. You're going to set your goals on an annual, quarterly, then monthly, and then daily, and then a weekly and daily basis. And don't worry about day 3 of the week. Just get your goal done for day 1, and then your goal done for day 2. So you're going to pledge. What are you going to entrust to? Well, you're going to entrust that if you do the daily activities, leave the end result up to the higher power. You cannot control the end result. You can only control the activities that you do to get to the end result. In other words, how do you get more listings? You talk to more people about buying and selling real estate. So if you didn't talk to anybody today, then entrust you're not going to make any money. If you didn't do the activities that you need to do on a regular basis to make the money that you want to make, if you're not doing those activities, then you're not going to make any money. The one thing I can tell you about real estate is really not rocket science. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but it's all teachable. It is all teachable. And I know people that went to school to be doctors, lawyers, and dentists, and none of them have been blessed the way I have been blessed with an income from the real estate industry. And you're all blessed with that same opportunity. Since the age of about 22, I've never had a year in my life that I didn't earn a 6-figure income. And that's back in those days. Some of them, the years I made 100 or 152, $300,000. That's when a good factory worker was making 20 grand a year up here. So gang, you got to make a commitment, and then you got to follow through with your commitment. And in order to achieve those goals and hit those commitments, you have to run your business based on the formula for success. Now, the formula for success has 3 parts to it. The first part is you must bring in 1 saleable listing a week. Now, when I talked to Audrey last night for a couple of minutes via text, I asked her, I said, Audrey, what is your average sale price in the Jacksonville area? She told me $362. So just for today's session, gang, I'm going to increase that to 400K because it just makes the math easier for us. Now, if you take your average commission on a $400,000 house, from what I understand, your area is 6%. Which tells me, Audrey, you guys need me down there more right now than ever. Because if you remember, when I was down there, I had everyone getting 7% listings. But let's just use 6% listings right now. So if we take 400 grand and we times that by 6%, that means the average commission on a transaction is $24,000. If we cut the $24,000 in half, that means that's $12,000 gross per transaction. Now, if we brought in 1 listing a week for a year and we took at least 12 months off, that would give us, or 12 months. If we took at least a month off, that would give us 48 listings a year. Now, if we assume that only half of those listings sell, that would be 24. And if we take a calculator very quick and we go 12,000 times by 24, that's $288,000 right there, right there by just bringing in one listing a week, taking a month off each year, and only half of them selling. Now, the truth of the matter is we all know that more than half are going to sell, but just for the formula, let's just say half sell. Now, out of that half, 24 houses you've sold, it's Florida. People are going to want to buy there again. But let's just say only half buy again, and we have 12 out of the 24 buy a house from you again, and we times that by 12,000. That's $144,000. That brings us to 9,3. That brings us to $432,000 in gross closed commissions. And it all started by bringing in one saleable listing a week. And then we cut that in half and said that we only 24 of them sold, and we cut that in half again, and only 20, we say 12 bought from us. And what the heck? Let's just cut the 432 in half. That brings us down to about $217,000 in gross closed commissions. I don't know anybody who wouldn't be quite happy making $250,000 a year. That is not chump change anywhere in North America today. So part one of the formula, you got to focus on a listing each week. Part two, you got to separate the looker from the buyer. We stay in touch with lookers, we work the buyers. So how do we separate the looker from the buyer? Well, the buyer has three components. A buyer has money, motivation, and urgency. If they don't have those three components, gang, they are lookers, not buyers. So we bring in a listing each week, we separate the looker from the buyer, and the third part of the formula is show and sell in-house inventory first. You want to have easier closing, sell in-house. You want to have easier time setting showings up, sell in-house. You want to have easier negotiations, sell in-house. It's about saving time, and it's about everyone making more money. Now, once we create the purpose, now we got to move to the number three. And number three is this, gang. It's a term that I came up with several years ago that I personally believe that the future of real estate is going to be based on something that I call social capital. So what is social capital? Well, social capital is the new currency of the real estate industry. Make no mistake about it. We have moved from a hustle a deal every day to a relationship building industry. You see, you have to remember something. The first one is that most salespeople do not understand the true value that they'll have in a relationship. So do the math for me quickly. According to the National Association of Realtors, 52% of the buying public perceives their realtor to be a personal friend after the transaction's been completed. That's absolutely incredible, 52%. But the survey went on to say that only 17% of those people use the same realtor twice. So what's that tell us? Well, what that tells us is we're really good at finding relationships. We are really good at spending the money to find relationships, but we are really, really bad at maintaining relationships. Now, if the average family moves 7 times in their lifetime, that means based on a $12,000 commission per end times 7, that means every relationship that you can develop, gang, is worth $84,000 to you in your career. Now, let me ask you something. If you were sitting with somebody in your office and you knew that by building a strong lifelong relationship with this person or this couple, it would be worth $84,000 to you and your family, would you take that relationship that much serious versus just selling them a house? I would say yes. But remember something, it's better to lose money than it is ever to lose a friend. So what you need to understand is that the first transaction you do with the buying public is the least profitable. Your highest profit comes from deals 4, 5, 6, and 7. And you want to focus on building a group of 500 people. You don't need 5,000 or 50,000. You need 500 people in your database that when they think of real estate and they think about hiring a professional, they think of you. Now, Why the rule of 500? Well, according to the marketing people, out of those 500 relationships, 20% of them will have some sort of real estate need in the next 12 months. That means that out of that 500, there's 100 possible leads. If only half of those leads meet with you and only half of them do business with you, that's 25 given transactions a year by building that group of 500. So the question then becomes this, is how do we build this group of 500? Well, that brings me to my fourth point. And my fourth point is this, is that relationship building is the name of the game today, gang. It's not about hustling a deal. It's about building lifelong relationships. And who would think when I first shook Audrey's hand, I think going back 20 years ago now, that I would be here in front of the greatest management team, certainly in the Jacksonville area and probably in Southwest or Southeastern Florida, and that I'd have the opportunity to be with you today, which is truly an honor, had I not built that relationship 20 years ago. So the question then becomes, how do we build these relationships in the real estate industry? Because Mark, it's becoming so damn confusing. You got some trainers out there that are telling us that we need to do drop-bys. But for me to even get to Costco, it takes 30 minutes to get to Costco and another 30 minutes to get home. I couldn't make a living doing drop-bys. Mark, there's another trainer out there that says you got to buy bus benches. Or Mark, there's another trainer out there says that you got to do monthly newsletters. Well, here's what makes me a little bit different, is that I don't believe there's any bad form of relationship building. I think there's good, better, and best. And I'll share with you what I think is good, better, and best. And I'll share with you the 3 or 4 things that I think you have to do on a regular basis based on my experience. But I can tell you something. What's good for one ain't good for another, but what's good for everybody is knowledge. And once you have that knowledge and you understand that there is something that's called passive forms of prospecting, there is proactive forms of prospecting, and there's what I call hyper forms of prospecting. Once you understand what each of them are, what the pros are, what the cons are of each, and then you can fit into your own niche. Now, along with that, what I'm going to say to you is this, is because the real estate industry is always ebbing and flowing, we have to ebb and flow too. So you need to know that certain times of the marketplace, you're going to have to be really strong at FSBOs. There's going to be other times you have to be strong in expireds. There might be other times, you see, gang, because the market is always shifting, and a good realtor has the knowledge on how to build those relationships so that anytime, no matter what's happening in the marketplace, they have the ability to shift gears and still be as successful as they always were. So what are these different ones? Well, let's start off and talk about some passive forms. Some passive forms of lead generation is you should have a professional website. You should have a Facebook professional page that looks very similar to your website. You could be doing some social networking. You could be doing some direct mail. You could be doing billboards, bus benches, real estate magazines, or e-newsletters or monthly newsletters. Now, what do everything there in the passive forms of lead generation, what do they all have in common? Well, they have 2 distinctive things in common. Number one is you have to spend money, generally speaking, to put out a good product. And number 2, you spend that money in the hopes that someone is going to call you or email you. So in other words, you spend a bunch of dough and you hope that someone's going to call you because of it. Now, is any of that bad? Not necessarily. Are some of them better than others? Maybe. It depends on how you tie them all together with what you are trying to accomplish. Stick with me. I'm going somewhere with this. So then we've got the passive forms of lead generation. Then we've got what we might call proactive forms of lead generation. And proactive forms would be referrals. And the only way you get referrals, gang, is you got to ask. You got to call your sphere of influence at least 4 times a year. You got to make sure they get their monthly e-newsletter from you to keep you top of mind awareness. You need to make sure they're friends for your social networking on your Facebook page or LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever you use. So you're going to tie passive and proactive together because the passive keeps you out in front of them. The proactive is when you reach out to them and ask them for a referral. If you're not doing that, then you should be doing at least 2 open houses a week, at least 2 open houses a week, unless you are generating at least a 6-figure income each year, then you should be doing a minimum of 2 open houses a week. Why? Well, it's another really form of proactiveness because you're putting yourself out there. You're telling the world there's open house, come out and see it. Plus, gang, if your inventory is low right now, you are going to get people that are afraid to put their house up for sale till they find one. So they're going to come out looking at open houses and you'll think that they're buyers, but really they're not buyers. They're actually sellers. They just want to find something or feel comfortable they can find something before they actually buy. So you should be doing active open houses, and for sure open houses in markets that you know that are hot. Your sphere of influence, this has been taught 1,000 times over 1,000 years in real estate. Your SOI, you need to stay in touch with them. Send them a monthly newsletter and 4 personal touches a year and just say, hey man, how you doing? I was thinking about you. Is there anything I can do to help? The 4th might be drop-bys. And I'm not a big fan in drop-bys. Truthfully, because of time. I'm not saying they don't work. I'm not saying they don't work at all, but maybe they should be strategic drop-bys, such as maybe you drop by at Christmas or Easter or on their birthday as a thank you to work your sphere of influence or past customers. But I just, with today's traffic and today's time constraints and 2 people working all day, who wants to have a salesperson drop by and see them at night and the only purpose they're going is because they're looking to get business? I'll leave that decision up to you. And then outdoor knocking. Again, door knocking, there's nothing wrong with that. You're being proactive, but generally speaking, I find the reason people do door knocking is because they don't feel comfortable picking up the phone. And it's the exact same 2 things. It's just a question of how many people can you talk to in a day. You should be working expireds. You should be working your FSBOs. Those are a given every day. Almost the first thing next to following up on your online lead gen is you should be working your expireds and your FSBOs and your sphere of influence every day. Number 6, I really encourage you to join a community, get involved in the community. And I don't mean belong to everyone, but maybe you get involved with the Little League baseball organizations or the lacrosse league or the Lionesses or the Rotarians or whatever. And you need to put yourself out into that into your community and have those people know that are part of your club that you are a realtor. This is what you do for a living. That's not why you're here, but they need to know. So wear your lapel pin, wear a little bit of career apparel, whatever it may take to have the people in that community to know that you're in the real estate business. And remember, generally speaking, the more people we help, the more help the universe will give back to us. And then if you don't have any past customers and you have no money to spend on passive forms of prospecting, you don't have a sphere, you still haven't been trained on your expireds or your FSBOs, you're not sure what community involvement, what I can tell you is this, gang, is if you picked up the phone and you did cold calling, and I know what some of you are going to say to me, oh, Mark, cold calling, that's so 1970s, 1980s, 60s. I'd never cold call. In fact, I have seen 6'6" green berets break out into a sweat when I said to them they had to cold call. But I told you guys maybe an hour or so ago that I made a decision that I was coming back into the real estate industry. But what I didn't tell you is this, is my wife put $10,000 in my business account, and she said, that's all you've got to start your career. Have at it. And I knew with only 10K between my board dues, pictures, signs, cards, all that, I got no advertising budget. So I got up one morning at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I went into this office at 5, and I sat there for about 2 hours thinking, what am I going to cold call? I'm going to cold call, going to cold call. But here's what I can tell you, gang. In my first 90 days back in the real estate industry, I closed in excess of $107,000 in gross closed commissions my first 90 days. And I'm not doing that to do this. Believe me, I don't need that. Okay. I'm doing it because I wanted to prove to myself. I wanted to prove to myself that A, I had the dialogue and technique to do it, and B, I needed to generate cash flow quickly. So I literally scheduled my cold calling and I started hitting the phones. And was I surprised? Every night I hit the phones, and I can tell you that every night I walked out with a listing appointment for the next day. Now, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm not telling you not to do it. But what I am telling you this is that if you're new to the business, or if you're in a slump, or if you got cash flow problems, you want to start making money immediately in the real estate business, then don't be shy to hit the phones. Now, that's passive. We talked about passive forms of lead gen. We're going to tie some passive into some of the proactive. And then the third form of lead gen, which I would be remiss if we didn't talk about this, is what I want to call hyperactive lead generation. And the reason I call it hyperactive lead generation, gang, is because online lead generation is going to send you more opportunities than anything that I have ever seen in my 35 years in the real estate business. But what I can tell you is you got to have a bit of a tough skin in order to do it. Maybe not as tough as if you were going to make a living through cold calls, expireds, and FSBOs, but certainly much more tougher than someone who's going to sit on their butt waiting for referrals. Now, in order to understand online lead gen, or what I like to call hyperactive form of lead generation, there's 3 different business models for this. The first business model is you could pay Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter to run ads for you. And I will tell you something, I tried it. It drove me mentally crazy. Every time I tried to do an ad on Facebook, they never accepted it. Google, I should add Google there instead of Twitter. I'm sorry, my mistake. I tried to do Google ads. Yeah, I got lots of thumbs up and likes, but I didn't get any conversions, any money. Didn't make any money from it. So I thought, that's no good. I'm making the tech companies rich. I'm making Zuckerberg a gazillionaire when he's already a gazillionaire. So then I thought, well, I'll buy leads. So I spent a bunch of dough on these companies like Zillow and Bold Leads and Commissions Inc. and Agent Locator and all of these other ones. And what I quickly found out was Zillow, when I bought leads from them, they sold the same leads to 4 or 5 other people. Well, listen, I mean, why would I give you that money? And why would I put myself up through that? Then the buying leads, the other things I found is that a lot of the companies, what they do is they mine the internet and they put out false or fake ads, getting people to click what I call clickbait, and then they send those off as leads. No way. Did you know that in the lead generation world, in the real estate industry, that the average conversion rate for an online lead is 0.5%? Were you aware of that? Now, some of you are going to say to yourself, Mark, how do you know that? Well, let me explain to you why I know, because 3.5 years ago, I had an opportunity fall on my desk. And after trying it for several months, I ended up buying it. And that is an online lead generation and relationship building system. You see, in today's world, gang, they have algorithms that follow human analytic behavior patterns without getting too complicated. But everywhere we go, whether you like it or not, you leave a cookie crumb behind you. And there are algorithms that will track those cookie crumbs. And based on what we know about human behavior, those are the people that are most likely to need a realtor. For example, if a young lady Googles dress styles for spring 2021, you don't want to put an ad in front of her. She's probably not looking to buy a house. But if she Googles wedding dress styles for spring of 2021, there's a good chance she's buying or she's getting married. Now, what do we know about using human analytic behavior patterns? I don't want to sound a sexist because I'm not, but generally speaking, if a woman's getting married, her next stage after she gets married, she's going to want to create a nest. That's just the way the higher power created us. And the men, they want garages and backyards and grass to cut and all that kind of stuff. So that's someone that your ad should go in front of. But what does it do for you, gang? Is a lead generation relationship building is it's going to automate and target market your ads, which means you're going to get a higher return on your money invested. It needs to have a lead nurturing system in there, because understand that for any successful lead generation system, it's 6 or 9 months until you really start getting the payoff. You'll get something within the first 90 days, but give it 9 months to a year. And I'm going to tell you what, the amount of business that comes through is unbelievable. And you want to find a company that's a complete all-in-one service that's going to look after that for you. So if those are the 3 different models, you can pick which model you choose. I personally like the one that they put the ads in front of the people that are most likely to use it. And I've been extremely successful with that. In fact, I can tell you in the last 12 months, I've closed just in excess of 500K gross closed commissions using online lead generation with anywhere from a 9% to a 10% conversion rate on my online leads, when the industry average is 0.5%. Now, fair disclosure, I've been in the business 35 years. So when I get an opportunity sent my way, if I can't close them, then there's a problem. But I can tell you that the average within the lead generation building systems, the average conversion rate is about 6%. So what are some truths? Well, one of the truths is that online lead generation, gang's here to stay. There's no question about it. The internet is taking everything over in our life. And the longer you fight it, the further you're going to be behind. Number 2, if you're not online, you're going to be left behind. It's as simple as that. And number 3, it eliminates all of the guesswork. Eliminates all of the guesswork and frustration, because the system does everything for you. So if those are the truths, what are some facts? Well, number 1, it's going to create steady cash flow for you. Why? Because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it is prospecting and lead generating for you. Number 2, well, I just said it, 24 hours a day lead gen. Number 3, it's effective time management, because think of the amount of time we spend in a day trying to find new business. If you want to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $600,000 a year, or I know students of mine that make well in over that, then you got to understand there's a big part of your day that's spent on trying to find new inventory or new opportunities. Number 4, your marketing dollars are targeted and specific. You can literally pick an area that you want to specialize in and say, I'm only going to get leads from that zip code. Number 5, it protects you from the do not call and the spam laws, because if you call them back, remember, they reached out to you first. So you've met the do not call requirements. And if you put them on a drip campaign, you've met the spam laws, because they, again, have given you permission to market to them. And number 6, it's constantly filling your pipeline. Constantly filling your pipeline with opportunities. And that's what real estate's all about. Think of an oil pipeline. The oil comes in here, it runs along the pipeline, it comes out the other side as money. Very similar in the real estate industry. You got to be constantly filling your pipeline with opportunities. In that pipeline, you got to separate the looker from the buyer. We stay in touch with the looker through our marketing campaigns, but we work the buyer immediately. So you've got to constantly be filling your pipeline. So now we've got opportunities, and we have converted our leads into face-to-faces, or what might be called a listing presentation. So the question is then, how do we walk in on these appointments and get the listings? Well, there's an old acronym that I've used for a number of years, and I've always said, if you can spell it, you can sell it. LISTING. And it goes like this, and it's literally a process. Step one is your lead-in step. That's where you first dress like $1 million. You park across the street, always across the street, never in the driveway. Professionals never park in a customer's driveway unless they're picking up a deposit check or something, but never for the first meeting. They never ever do. You always strut to the front door, know that one of the two homeowners are peeking out the window at you and they're hollering at the other one, hurry up, he's here, you're going to make us late. You ring the doorbell, you give them a smile, you pay them a compliment, you take them to the kitchen table, you small talk smart until they bring up real estate. When they bring up real estate, you move them to what's called a comfort zone. The comfort zone is designed to eliminate fear. Why do we need to eliminate fear? Well, you got to understand the psychology of sales and psychology of the listing appointment. You need to understand that before you even go over on that appointment, Mr. and Mrs. have gotten face to face. And one of them has said to the other one, listen, we're only going to listen to what this guy's got to say tonight. Then we're going to get him out the door. And then you and I will talk. So believe me, before you even get there, they've already made the decision that they're not signing anything with you tonight. So you got to use your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is designed to eliminate fear. And what creates fear is the unknown. And it's the unknown which stops them from talking to you. Remember, the greatest salespeople in the world are not the best talkers. They are the best listeners. Once you go through that, then you go into your investigative stage. And the investigative stage really has about 6 questions you need to ask. But the whole idea is you got to find out why they want to have you there tonight, why they're selling, where they want to go, when they want to get there, what they're hoping to sell their house for. And if they didn't sell their house tonight, does that mean they can still buy another one? After you go through the investigative stage, you then go and you take a look through the house and you ask them to show you through as if they were the realtor and you were the buyer. This way here, you won't affect anything that might affect the value. Then you come back to the kitchen table, and this is where you're going to show them your marketing plan. Now, it depends on how deep you get into it. Now, understand something. As a trainer, my job is to teach you how to handle the toughest listing appointment you are ever going to go on. My job as a trainer is to fill your toolbox with tools that no matter what they hit you with, you're going to have the ammunition to handle it. So do you do a full-blown listing presentation done on your laptop? Well, depending on the age group, you might. Maybe if they're above 50 or 60, they may want to see that you got your act together, and that's what their generation expects, to see that you're prepared. If you're dealing with a younger group, they may not care because they know that all of your marketing is going to be done online. Whatever it might be, you got to know your age group and you got to know when to pull out a full presentation and when not. But that doesn't mean you cannot be prepared to do it when you need to do it. Then you go into your selling stage, your pricing presentation. After you go through price, that's when you move for your tie down or close. Now, in the perfect world, this is where they'd sign the listing with you, but they never do. This is where they hit you with objections. So when they hit you with objections, you then go into your investigative stage using your open-ended questions, your who's, your what's, your where's, your why's, and your how's, which is just who spelled differently. And then you use your tie-down questions. If I could show you, would you? Then you negotiate and close. And then the G stands for once you get that listing signed, you get out quickly. Now, in the perfect world, they just sign the listing with you and you head out the door. But it never happens that way, gang. Never, ever happens that way. So you have to be a master at handling objections. You have to be a master when they say, well, we want to think about it. We have a friend in the business. We want to interview 3 realtors. We want to wait till spring, summer, winter, or fall. We want to fix it before we list. We're going to list with ABC down the street because they'll do it for less commission. And you need to be able to handle these objections. Now, the whole key to handling objections is the first thing that you have to do is this, is you can't fight it. You know, one of the most common mistakes salespeople make is they don't understand there's two different ways people talk. They talk using their mouth and they talk using their body language. So what happens when the owner says to you, well, we'll list with you, but you got to do it for instead of 6%, you're asking, you got to do it for 5 or 4 or 3, or Sally at Slouch Realtor said she'd do it for 1. You can't look mad at that. You can't be mad at Sally, because you almost got to feel sorry for Sally or the discount broker, because somewhere along the line, nobody cared enough about them to teach them what they need to know to protect their commissions. So don't fight it. Your dialogue here might be something as simple as this: I can appreciate how you feel. Step 2 is you then question it. Can I ask you, why would you like to fix the home before you put it on the market? Why would you like to find one before you put your home on the market? Can I ask you why you'd like to list your house at 3% instead of 6%? Or when I get back down there, Audrey, if I ever get back down there again with you, sweetie, I want to teach these agents how to get back to 7%. I want to teach them how to get back to 7, because such a unique opportunity. And the truth is, I can do it, and I'm going to help them a little bit in a couple of minutes, give them some 7% commission or some commission objection techniques anyways. Number 3, you got to isolate it. Is that the only thing holding you back this evening? Step 4, get them to commit to you. If I could demonstrate to you how paying 6% will actually sell the house quicker for you and probably put more money in your pocket, if I could, even after paying a commission, if I could prove that to you beyond a shadow of a doubt, would you at least consider going ahead at 6%? Number 5, you then handle it using an OHT, or what's called an objection handling technique. And then 6, you close on it. You close on it. And that's where you want to get. So what are some of the most common objections you're going to get hit with? Well, the first one might be that, especially in a hot market, they want to find one before they put theirs on the market. Now, what this technique is here that you have to master is what I like to call the buyer's best interest technique. Why? Because they were sellers that now want to become buyers because they want to find one before they put a home on the market, but actually they should be back to sellers again. So the technique, and I'm going to try to explain it to you the best that I can, paint a picture for you. It's always easier to teach this stuff with a flip chart in front of us. But anyhow, so I would say to Mr. and Mrs., I can appreciate how you feel. Just to clarify my thinking, can I ask you, why would you like to find a house before you put yours on the market? Well, you know, Mark, the market's selling so fast. We're not worried about our house selling. Blah, blah, blah. We want to make sure we find one. Say, okay, is that the only thing holding you back this evening? Yes, it is. Okay, well, if I could demonstrate to you beyond a shadow of a doubt by actually putting your house on the, finding a house before you put your home on the market, could cost you thousands of dollars. At the same time, I'm going to show you how we're going to control the sale so you don't ever have to worry about being out on the street. If I could prove that to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that we can do that, would you go ahead and list with me tonight? And if they were serious about selling, or unless there was something else hidden behind, they would definitely say yes to that. So then what you do is this: you pull out your writing pad, which I like to call my talking pad. A good salesperson never tells them something you can show them. You never show them something you can tell them. And always remember, a picture's worth $1,000 to you. So you draw out on a writing pad, you draw 2 houses, stick houses. And you say, Mr. and Mrs., let's assume for a second that this house is your house and you're asking $399 for it. So you'd like to get $400,000 for it. Now, and then you want to go buy the house over at Forest Hill, and those houses are $500,000. Now, if I put you in the car tonight and I drove you over to Forest Hill and I found you the perfect house, everything you were looking for in a house, are you in a position to buy that house cash tonight? 90% of the people are going to say no, maybe even 100% in today's world. Say, okay, then can I ask you, what would you like to do? Well, we'd like to make an offer, Mark, subject to the sale of our house. And I would say, okay, I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm not sure I'm that good. Here, let me explain. You see, I'm not only going to have to go over and try to get them to take less for their house, but I'm also going to have to go over and try and convince them that they should take less for your house while they take less for their house, while they take their house off the market, waiting for you to sell yours. Now, I'm really good at what I do. I'm not sure I'm that good, but let me ask you something. On a $500,000 house, what would you offer? Well, Mark, we wanted 450 or 425, and you're telling us about 400. So we'd offer them 475,000. So I'd say, okay, so you want me to get them to take $25,000 less and take their home off the market? Say, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But let me ask you something. If I could, if this house had everything you needed, and I could convince them to take their house off the market, but instead of 475, you had to pay 495, and they would wait for you to sell their house. Would you pay the extra 20? Yeah, we might if it's the right house. Say, okay, so potentially you just paid 20 grand more than what you should have. See, because a cash offer, people will always be more flexible, generally speaking. But that's okay. So now we've got your new house. Emotionally, you're moving in, you're driving the kids over to see it. You're showing Susie where her bedroom's going to be. You're showing Bobby where he can put his basketball net, and that there's a park down the street to play baseball and ride their bikes. Emotionally, you're moved in. And you want $400,000 for your house, but we have a buyer come along. They want to buy your house, but the most they're going to pay is $390,090 cash, but they will pay it so you can meet your closing date and everything you need to get into your new house. What do you think most people are going to do? They're going to take it. So you end up selling your house, buying the house that you want for 20 grand more, selling your house for $10,000 less. That's a $30,000 loss. Is that a lot of money to you? It sure is. Well, then why don't we do this? I don't mind. Let's get your house on the market tonight so I can save you that $30,000. At the same time as I'm marketing to get your house sold for you, we're going to be working collectively to find you that right house. It's my job to pull the two together so that you save that $30,000, you get into the new house, and it all goes smooth. If I can't accomplish that for you, you can stay exactly where you are. Fair enough. Now, that's if they want to find one before they put theirs on the market. The next one might be that they want to interview 3 realtors. Now, as our world changes, there's going to be more and more realtors in the industry. It just has to be, because a lot of the jobs that were once done in North America are now being shipped to Mexico. They've gone to China. Try to buy a new house and go out and buy furniture. And I'm not talking custom made furniture. I'm just talking, maybe even some dishes and some cutlery and a sofa. Find out where they're really curtains, where this stuff is all made today. Our factory days are almost over in North America. That means that the people that might normally have done those types of jobs are looking for others. And some are fortunate enough, they stay in school and they become computer people. Others will find other ways, but there'll be thousands and thousands of them come into the real estate industry. In fact, I think there's about 11,000 agents now on your board, give or take 500 from what I understand. So everybody and their brother is going to know somebody that's in the real estate industry, so you better master this technique. So it would go like this. I can appreciate how you feel, but just to clarify my thinking, can I ask you why you'd like to interview 3 realtors? Well, Mark, you're asking for 6% commission, and the other realtor already told us they do it for 5. We have another one that might do it for 4. Say, listen, okay, so is that the only thing holding you back this evening? Meaning that if I said to you right now that I would change my commission from 6% to 5, you'd sign the listing right now and we would get onto it? Yeah, we'd probably do that. I say, okay, I could, but I won't. A lesser agent than myself would, and do that to benefit them, but it would only hurt you in the long run. But let me show you something. If I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that Mark Leader and Leader's Elite Realty or Legends Realty, the Legends of Real Estate, offers more services than any other company in the city. And if we offer more services, mean we can attract more buyers. If we attract more buyers, mean we should attract a higher price. If I could demonstrate to you that beyond a shadow of a doubt, would you at least consider going ahead with me tonight? And of course, if they were serious, they would say yes to that. At that point, that's when you want to pull out an up-to-date company comparison. You always have to know what your competitors are doing, what services they offer, and how that compares back to you. And I know all of you at one time or another, because I trained it. I trained management training, that all of you are going to get a recruitment letter sooner or later from somebody. Now, what do most of you do with those recruitment letters? You fold them up and you throw them out. Not from this day on, you're going to keep them from this day on, and you're going to use them. So your company comparison chart, pretty straightforward. Across the top, you've got Leaders Choice Realty, ABC XYZ, that would be the Legends of Realty. And on the other side, you list all of the services that you provide. And you would literally go through. Now, don't ever use this technique if the other companies offer more services than you, but I know that you would never do that. So you go through the company comparison chart. You don't have to belabor on everything, but you hit your highlights. And at the end of that, you show them that Legends of Realty, Legends of Real Estate offers more services than any other company in the city. And you get them to acknowledge it and also acknowledge that Audrey or Clark or one of your managers have signed off that this is true and accurate. So you get them to acknowledge you offer more services, but here's the kicker, gang. You then pull out the recruitment letter, and there's a good chance the recruitment letter's coming from, or you have a recruitment letter from one of the companies that you're up against this evening. And you would say, in fact, here, let me show you this. We are so good at the Legends that ABC Realty or XYZ Realty or Slouch Realty or BS Realty, whatever it might be, they even send me letters on a monthly basis wanting to hire me to sell the homes that they've got listed for sale. So my question to you, Mr. and Mrs., is that you're going to have ABC over and you're going to have Slouch over. If ABC and Slouch want to hire Mark Leader to sell the houses that they have listed for sale, if those salespeople were being honest with you, who would they tell you that you should list with too? And finally, there's not a presentation that I've done in the last number of years that I don't want to talk about our commissions, gang. We have to talk about their commissions. It's not a taboo word. So let me say this right up front before we have everybody drop off, that commissions are negotiable. They're negotiable between the homeowner and the realtor at the time of listing the property for sale. Commissions cannot be fixed. But if commissions are negotiable, the same as the average person thinks negotiate means going down, I like to think that they should be going up. So I want to teach you 6 very quick techniques on how to protect your commissions, and then we'll move to wrap everything up. The first one is, and this is going to handle it about 40 to 50% of the time, when you're pulling out your listing agreement and you're going through the listing and they look at you and say, oh, I see that you put 6% down. I still want to get us back to 7, but put 6% down on the listing. Would you do it for 5? And you just come back and go, oh, no. But do you have any other questions before we move ahead? So just say no technique, gang. Believe me, more than often, that's going to handle it. If that don't work, you might use the morals technique. And the morals technique would be something like this. Mr. and Mrs., let me ask you something. What do you do for a living? Oh, well, Mark, I'm a teacher. Okay, fantastic. What a great profession. And Mark, I'm a police officer. Wow. Wow. Both people that are giving their lives to the community. But let me ask you something. What does a police officer make right now? Well, we make about anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a week, Mark. It depends on your seniority and all of that stuff. But let's just say it's $1,500 a week before taxes. Say, okay, well, let me ask you something. What if you went in and I said to you, I'm not going to pay you $1,500 this week. I'm only going to pay you $1,000 to do that job. How would you feel? I'd say, no, I'm not going to do it. In fact, I'd pound my fist. I'd go see my union rep and say, no, you know what? And say, why? Well, I'd say, well, why would I do that? If I should be getting paid $1,500, why would I do it for $1,000? You see, Mr. and Mrs., that's the exact same thing that I'm saying to you. If we take a look at the MLS, 99.9% of the people that hire realtors pay us 6%. So my question to you is that if the rest of the world's willing to pay me 6%, I got to ask you, sir, why do you feel that you don't? And then just go deadly quiet, deadly quiet. And normally one or the other will look at them and say, listen, just go ahead. Just go ahead. Mark's a good guy. Just go ahead. If that don't work, then we're going to go to the old real estate game. Well, I'll tell you why, Mark. All those people can do what they want, but it's my money. And if I can save $3,000, I'm going to do it. Say, okay, I understand that. But let me ask you, if I could prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're actually hurting yourself, not helping yourself, You're hurting yourself by going ahead for a lesser commission. Would you at least agree with me that it might be in your best interest? Okay, if you can prove it to me. Well, you know, Mr. and Mrs., I want to say again that commissions are negotiable, always have been. There's two times to negotiate a commission. You either negotiate the time of getting the listing signed, which is what you'd like to do right now, or when you are having the offer come in. You see, when the offer comes in, everything's negotiable anyways. Price, timing, convenient, everything's negotiable, including my commission. So when's the right time to do it? When's the wrong time to do it? Well, the right time to do it, if we were going to negotiate, might be when the offer comes in. The wrong time is now. Let me show you why. And I would say, okay, I draw a picture of maybe almost like the picture on your screen, gang, that we used to do X and O's with. And I put, here's some houses, they're paying 7%, some are paying 6%, the rest are paying 6%, and there's one that's paying 5 or 4. Now, Mr. and Mrs., you need to understand there's about 10,000 salespeople on the Jackson board, but out of those 10,000 salespeople, 20% of the people do 80% of the business and 80% of the people do 20% of the business. That being said, the average realtor in this area will sell about 4 to 5 houses a year. Now, if you had one of your buyers and you were a realtor and you knew this buyer was going to buy, and they were one of your buyers, one of the 4 or 5 people that were going to buy a house from you this year, be honest with me, because this only works to help you if you're honest with me. Would you try to sell them the 4% listings first? No. Would you try to sell them the 5 first? No. Would you try to sell them the 6 first? Maybe, Mark, but I would definitely try to sell them the 7% listing first. Why? Because you get paid more. Exactly. Well, if that's what you would do, Mr. and Mrs., and you're not in the real estate business, imagine what the salespeople are going to do that are in the business and they make this living, make a living doing this. In fact, on more times than not, I've encouraged people, instead of doing it at 6%, let's add 1% to the asking price and let's list it at 7%. And let's let the realtors line up to sell your house, because the more demand we can create for your property, the higher the price is going to be. If that one don't work, you could use the old wimp agent technique. And they say, well, Mark, that sounds good to me, but the truth is Bob said he'd do it for 5, and that's what I'm willing to pay. And I'd say, well, listen, man, I got to ask you something. How quick were you to get, how did you get Bob to go from 6 to 5? He said, I just asked. I said, Bob, if I go ahead and list with you, will you do it for 5? And he said, yeah. I said, well, I figure Bob just gave away about $4,000 of his money. So my question to you is, if Bob is that quick to give away $4,000 of his money, then how quick is he going to be to give away your money when it comes time to negotiate on your behalf? You see, Mr. and Mrs., you need someone that's going to get you the most amount of money. And the truth is, we don't cost anything. A good realtor actually puts more money in your pocket than anything else that we do. And if that don't work, you could always go to my old $6 bill, and Audrey and the folks that have been with me before, you'll remember this. And I'm sure that all of you aren't doing it, but you should be. Every realtor should carry 6 crisp $1 bills. I used to do 7, but we'll do 6 for this presentation. And so what happens is you say, Mr. and Mrs., let me show you how commissions work. And I pull out the $6 bills. You see here, $6 bills, they represent the 6%. Out of those $6 bills, 3, and you take 3 out of the equation, they're going to go to the selling broker. See, my job is not to keep all the commission. My job is to get you the most amount of money. Whether I sell it or somebody else sells it should be irrelevant to me. My first priority is to get you the most amount of money. So the odds have it another agent's going to sell it. So that leaves me with 3. Out of the 3 that's left, 1% is going to go to my broker. That leaves me 2. Out of the 2, one of the bills, half of that will go towards marketing your home, and the other half will be sent to Washington in taxes, which leaves me 1% left for me to feed, house, and clothe my family. And that 1%, you want me to give it to you? I think not. You see, Mr. and Mrs., I'd rather leave here tonight knowing that I didn't make any money than to get you a top dollar for your house, work my butt off, spend several thousands of dollars on marketing expenses, and know that I'm not going to make any money. It's just not a win-win. And if it can't be a win-win, then I wouldn't do it if it wasn't a win-win for you. And I hope that you wouldn't do it if you didn't feel it was a win-win for me too. You see, gang, it's real easy to cut your commission. It takes zero skill to cut your commission. It takes zero skill to give your money away. But the truth of the matter is, the lifers in this business, like me, they understand that full service real estate has been around for over 100 years. In fact, the sales industry is probably the oldest profession in the world. And some people will say, well, Mark, that's not true. I read in a very old book that there's actually an older profession than that. And I always say, well, what happened first, the sale or the fulfillment of the contract? You see, I want you to look at your career as this. And if you can reach this stage, then you're going to be on your way and you're going to have a life like you never believed. And that is to understand that there's other people that have been ahead of you on this journey. There's the people like Audrey and like Clark. There's the people like Liz and Rick. There's the people like me, 35 years in the business. Who would think almost 3/4 of my life now I've been listing and selling real estate or been involved with it in one form or another. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, gang. What you have to do is you have to take the advice of Ray Kroc. And if you think of Ray Kroc and McDonald's, McDonald's became the most successful food franchise ever in the history of mankind. There is people that go to culinary schools that are 30, 40, 50 years old, try to open restaurants, and they're lucky to make it a year or two. But this man called Ray Kroc built this empire off the backs of 14-year-olds. If you remember, almost all of us at one time or another knew somebody, or it was ourselves, that our first job was at McDonald's. That's how they broke us in. Well, Ray Kroc became a gazillionaire by taking the complicated and make it simple. Real estate is not complicated, gang. It's rather simple. You got to get up, you got to suit up, you got to show up, and you've got to master the dialogue, technique, and process. You have to grab a hold of the technology that's out there. And if you're interested, you can always go to leaderselite.com and check out my lead gen company. Wow, man, it's unbelievable. But for sure, I would love you all to join my Facebook community. And remember, and that Facebook community is called Leaders in Real Estate. And we've got almost 200 people, I think, as of today, 150, 200 people. We just started it about 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to be doing videos on there for you as a little bit of training. No charge, there'll be no pitches. It's just some place that we can all get together and share. And I hope if you get on, you do some cool videos about your success, about something funny that's happened in real estate, something that's uplifting, something that'll help others. But ultimately, remember that others have done this before, and the only way you're truly going to be successful is understand that you got to invest in yourself. You have to put the time and effort in. You have to believe in your company, and there's not a better company in North America today, gang. And I've worked for all of them at one time or another than the legends of real estate. It's got good management. It's got good values. They're value-based people. And remember that when it's said and done, Zig Ziglar said, if it is to be, it's up to me. And part of being up to me is investing in yourself. I'll never forget a very, very important person said to me one time, said, you know, Mark, the government can come, and if they wanted to, they can take our houses, they can take our freedoms. But the one thing they could never take away from us is our education and our knowledge on how to make an income for our family. So take a percentage of your income each year, gang, invest in yourself and your schooling, be involved with the Women's Council of Realtors, take as many courses as you can. Think of the real estate courses as being a buffet. Take what you want, leave the rest. And let me close with this semi-world famous poem that goes like this. And it's all about investing in yourself. The bride white of hair is stooped over her cane. uncertain her knees are guiding. While down the opposite church aisle with a wan, toothless smile, bridegroom in wheelchair comes riding. Now, who is that elderly couple thus wed? You'll find when you quickly explore it, that here is that rare, most conservative pair who waited until they could afford it. Don't wait to invest in yourself, gang. Don't wait to invest in your family. Get up, show up, and make the most out of the market that we're in. And remember, when it's said and done, this has always been and always will be. Listings are the name of the game. Listings are the way to the top. We make a living through building inventory. By selling them is a side hustle. Let others sell them. You just list them. Audrey, Clark, thank you for having me today. I hope it was valuable. I hope you all enjoyed it. I want to thank you for the time that you spent with me. And if you'd like, Audrey, I can stay on for a couple of minutes and just do a little bit of Q&A for anybody else who has any questions about the presentation, or if they have challenges in their real estate career they'd like to bounce off me. It's your call. I've gone over by about 15 minutes, which I apologize. But again, thank you for having me. Clark, I'll turn it over to you.
We're thrilled, and thank you so much, Mark. Wonderful presentation as always. And I love the letter, the recruiting letter to use on the appointment. Fabulous new stuff. I don't know if Clark, if you have anybody over there. I think we have kind of gone over. Maybe Mark, if we've got some questions, maybe we could send those to you in an email. I think we're having a few to disperse over here. Clark, what about on your end?
Yep, Fabian direct messaged me, said, can I have your number, please? It's my email is mark@markleader.com. And my phone number is 705-730-2725. That's my private number.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Mark. We love
You're
you
welcome.
and hope to hear from you soon. And we appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you guys. God bless you.
Your time.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Also. And
Thanks, guys.
For anybody who's left, we have recorded this and we will put it onto our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Could I have a copy of it too, please, Clark, on my YouTube channel?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.